I don't know why. Have you looked at urine or sweat? Has any? I guess there are other labs that you know of that are looking at the composition of urine, the composition of sweat, the composition of exhaled air to see like the bacterial loads, other factors.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the whole human body, we have about 40 trillion bacterial cells in the human body. And to give you a comparison, there's about 30 trillion human cells in the body, although bacteria are much smaller by mass than our cells. And so, it's only a few pounds, maybe a pound or half a pound of material of what our microbes are. And that the vast majority of that is in the gut. So 99 or 99.9% of the bacteria in our bodies is in the colon. Maybe 1% is spread out across the rest of the body. There are microbes on our skin. There's a fair number in our mouths, in our upper GI, but in our urine, not so much. There's not that many in our urine unless you have a urinary tract infection. And in our sweat, as it's coming out, there's really no microbes in the sweat. But when it comes out and mixes in with the skin, then of course you get some microbes in there. You can think of the body as a donut. It's one continuous surface, the mouth through the gut to the skin in the outside. And microbes are covering that entire surface. But as soon as you penetrate through the epithelium, where you go through the skin or through the gut wall, all of that is immune protected. So there are no microbes past that barrier.
So, so when someone is, when they're forming a stool and all that, I would think there'd be an incredible proliferation of bacteria, to consume that material. And then once it's passed out, so right before someone would go to the bathroom, how much more bacteria would they have percentage wise than they had? And once they eliminate that, what percentage of all their bacteria is now excreted? Is it a significant percentage? Is it like 20% of all the,
It's very significant. Yeah. I mean, our biomass in terms of microbes does fluctuate quite a bit with bowel movement. I think
that cycling is interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, you become maybe more human than microbe every time you have a bum, and say they get stacked up.
It's kind of, maybe that's why people feel so much better when it goes well, Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird to think about the dynamics of it, but that's what came to mind. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's an incredible amount of growth, right? In the small intestine or the stomach, there's pretty much no microbes. There's very few, maybe a few hundred per milliliter or 1,000 per milliliter. And then you go from that to 10 to the 12, 10 to the 11 per gram in the lower colon. So there's just an enormous amount of growth going on from the top of the colon to the bottom of the colon.
So I can see why it would be so detrimental if you don't go to the bathroom regularly, because that's an incredible amount of extra bacteria to build up in you. And I can say, I guess it would wreak havoc, over time if you didn't eliminate it.
I think it's a complicated story because the microbes in our colon is an evolved structure to specifically cultivate microbes. Having microbes there is good. And if we didn't, we'd actually be very sick. But you're right that if you are constipated, that also causes problems. We actually had a paper last year showing that you can see in the bloodstream the impact of constipation. What seems to be occurring is the microbes in the gut, they prefer to degrade dietary fibers and turn those into organic acids, like short chain fatty acids. And those acids are very healthful to our colonic epithelium and they're good for us. But if stool sticks around for too long, they run out of fiber. And so they have to switch to some other kind of food source. And a couple things they can eat are proteins. They can start to ferment proteins that are from the diet, but they can also begin to degrade our mucus layer, which also contains a lot of protein. And the fermentation of this protein produces molecules like p-creosol or endoxyl. And these are known to be toxins to the kidneys or the liver or even the brain. And so long-term buildup of these toxins in the blood can potentially trigger chronic diseases later in life. So that's sort of the argument we were making in that paper. So you're right. It's sort of like a hot potato. You want microbes in there. You have to have them for a little bit of time. But if you keep them there for too long, that causes problems.